If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? It's the Fighters Rep, and I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. It is Monday, November 18th, 2019. We've got this big heavyweight tilt coming up between Deontay Wilder and Luis King Kong Ortiz. It is one of the more exciting heavyweight fights we're going to get for the rest of the year besides Ruiz versus Joshua. So let's dig right into this preview prediction of this really anticipated heavyweight fight for a lot of people. Now, I have been caught on record a few times saying that I do think Deontay Wilder should be fighting some new blood, should be fighting some different guys in the heavyweight division. But if there's anybody that's a bit of an older guy that deserves a second crack or another chance at Deontay Wilder specifically, it is Luis King Kong Ortiz, who gave him a hell of a fight in their first go-round. That being said, again, you have caught me on record saying that Deontay Wilder should be fighting somebody else. He's already knocked out Luis Ortiz in dramatic fashion in their last fight about a year ago. I don't really expect too much improvement from Luis Ortiz. However, there are some pictures surfacing on the internet right now that show Luis Ortiz in what seems to be the best shape that he's ever been at in his entire career. And if you saw the first fight, you know that a lot of people attributed Deontay Wilder's win to Luis Ortiz being an older fighter and not having the legs to keep up with Deontay Wilder and finish him when he had the opportunity to. So that brings us to this preview and this rematch. And is this in better shape? Luis Ortiz going to have what it takes to push Deontay Wilder to the brink of defeat? Well, first and foremost, Knuckleheads, let's do like we always do. Let's take a look at the physical stats and some other stats. Talk about what we need each guy needs to do, or what we think each guy needs to do in order to get the win. And then we'll give you our official Fighters Rep Knucklehead Nation prediction. So first and foremost, if we take a look at the records, we've got Deontay Wilder with a fantastic 41-0-1 record. Of course, the only blemish on that record, which is sort of half a blemish, is the draw against Tyson Fury. He's going to be going up against Luis Ortiz, who's got an impressive 31-1-0 record. And that only loss he's got on that record came to Deontay Wilder in their last fight. Now, the next stat is a telling one. We've got Deontay Wilder coming in at about 34 years of age, going up against Luis Ortiz, who is allegedly at 40 years of age. And I say allegedly because being from South Florida and having dealt with a lot of, let's just say, people from abroad in sports who perhaps couldn't get here in time or wanted to get here before they had the opportunity to. I have seen birth certificates tampered with. That's not to say Luis Ortiz has done that, but I do think he looks mighty old for 40. And even though he's in great physical shape, I do suspect that maybe his birth certificate is not accurate. Perhaps it's been tampered with, or maybe I'm wrong. But again, he's 40 years old but looks a bit older. And even if he wasn't, and even if his birth certificate is totally normal, which it very well could be, he's just a much more aged fighter than Deontay Wilder is, especially when you take into consideration that he was knocked out by Deontay Wilder back in 2018. So at the age of 40, I mean, are we expecting a physical and intellectual improvement out of Luis Ortiz? I don't really think so. So that is one of the more telling stats in this preview prediction. Also, professional age, something to look into. Deontay Wilder has been a pro for a couple years longer than Luis Ortiz. It looks like he's been a pro for 9 years versus Wilder being a pro for 11 years. But is that going to make or break the fight? Not really. Luis Ortiz has got a lot of great skill that he acquired in the amateurs and in the Olympics and so on and so forth. Of course, Deontay Wilder went to the Olympics as well, but not the same amateur pedigree going through the Cuban system that Luis Ortiz has. Nonetheless, Deontay Wilder, very strong puncher and a good enough boxer. Probably an underrated boxer, although to be fair, he's not the best boxer in the division, that's for sure. Now, if we look at the experience, rounds fought, even though Luis Ortiz does have more or less fights than Wilder, he's got more rounds under his belt. Also, and honestly, I don't think the rounds fought are going to be a huge impact on this fight. Again, quality over quantity. I do believe Wilder has had the more quality opposition. Also, let's take a look at height. We've got Deontay Wilder at 6 feet 7 inches, taking on the 6'4" Luis Ortiz. An advantage there if you think height is an advantage in boxing. I tend to shy away from that a little bit. I do think reach is an advantage, but height sometimes can be a disadvantage depending on the fight and who is fighting. Let's take a look finally at the reach. We've got a vicious 83-inch reach for Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, taking on a 78-inch reach and Luis Ortiz. This will no doubt have an effect on the fight, will influence Luis Ortiz's strategy as well as Deontay Wilder's, who will likely keep him on the outside. Now, knuckleheads, what do these guys need to do to win the fight? Well, if you ask me, for Luis Ortiz, he needs to get on the inside or in mid-range to sort of smother Deontay Wilder and use his boxing skills. The problem with that is he's going to waste a lot of energy doing that. He's also, when he's fighting from the outside, which he's also going to have to mix it up on the outside because he is probably a superior boxer, he's going to have to find a way to completely avoid that Deontay Wilder right hand and to counter, make Deontay Wilder pay every time he throws a punch and to be more active. Deontay Wilder tends not to be active. So Luis Ortiz is going to have to use every tool in the tool shed to beat Deontay Wilder because Deontay Wilder has that eraser in that right hand. He's got enough skills boxing-wise and a long enough reach to give Luis Ortiz problems, despite the fact that Luis Ortiz may be a more technically sound boxer. So again, Ortiz has going to have to mix it up, fight on the inside, fight at mid-range to try to smother Wilder, avoid that right hand at all costs. On the outside, he's going to have to counter and stay busy and use that left hand over and over again, but obviously the right hand for the jab, it's something that Deontay Wilder probably doesn't get a good look at that much because he doesn't fight that many southpaws. And Luis Ortiz is a southpaw. So, he's going to want to use all his boxing technique in this fight. I would say if he's going to stay at range, always keep that left hand up. Throw that jab over and over again. Throw it with movement. Circle away from Deontay Wilder's power. And when he goes inside, it should be off of a counter of the right hand and try to go to the body and maybe hurt Wilder to the body. He's also been hurt to the head several times, but maybe if he switches it up, goes to the body, then goes to the head, he could find some success. Wilder is not a guy that's very active, so to slow him down even more by going to the body may be a good idea. For Wilder, he just needs to do what he always does, stay on the outside. I think he needs to be busier with his jab. Wilder tends to be a very slow starter, and he's typically not that busy of a fighter, always just looking for that one big punch. I think that's very risky against a technical guy like Ortiz. He's going to need to use that jab, stay on the outside, and look for that opening. The big right hand down the middle. It is the left-hander's kryptonite. A southpaw's kryptonite is that big right hand down the middle. I think he's going to want to try to straighten out that right hand too when he throws it down the middle. Don't throw big looping right hands unless Ortiz is somehow guarding against it properly this time. But I do think Wilder's going to want to throw that right hand down the middle. And of course, Ortiz try to capitalize on that left hand down the middle. They are each other's kryptonite. That being said, knuckleheads, I don't see a huge difference between last fight and this fight, other than the fact that Deontay Wilder has probably improved considering the experience he's received and his age. He's probably peaked at this point. He's 34 years old now, but who knows, in the heavyweight division, you might peak even a little bit later than that, as we've seen. So I feel like Deontay Wilder has probably only gotten a little bit better since the Luis Ortiz fight, since he's fought Tyson Fury since then and experienced a really high-level boxer, and then completely sparked Dominic Breazeale in his last fight. And although there wasn't a lot of experience in that fight because it ended in the first round, it's a massive confidence booster to lay somebody out like that in the first round. On the other hand, I feel like Luis Ortiz has had a couple of snooze fests since he fought Wilder. He got a unanimous decision win over Christian Hammer this year. He beat Travis Kaufman by TKO in 2018 and Razvan Kajanu in 2018 as well, also by TKO. I actually feel like Luis Ortiz has sort of gone back a bit, probably deteriorated a degree or two. However, I do take into consideration the fact that he's in the best shape of his life, seemingly, for this fight. Maybe he's the kind of guy that needed a strong opponent to get up, and definitely he's got his hands full in a strong opponent in Deontay Wilder. That said, knuckleheads, I'm going to go ahead and give you my prediction for this one. I see this fight being another exciting fight while it lasts, but I do think that Deontay Wilder will actually get Luis Ortiz out of there in the first half of the fight. I do think Deontay Wilder knocks Luis Ortiz out in the first half of the fight. Now, that's not to say that Luis Ortiz doesn't have a good shot at winning this fight. Luis Ortiz could potentially hurt Wilder like he did in the last fight and even get the victory. He is a solid boxer, but just what I've seen from him since that Wilder fight, what I saw in that previous Wilder fight, indicates to me that Deontay Wilder has got this man's number. Deontay Wilder is an absolute problem in the heavyweight division, and I do not see Luis Ortiz beating Deontay Wilder in the rematch. So let's take a look at the chat real quick, and before we proceed, knuckleheads, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon below. It would be greatly appreciated. Also, any super chat you donate, any money in the super chat or in the links below. If you pick up your Fighters Rep gear or click the Amazon affiliate link for Black Friday, we are an Amazon affiliate. So if you buy anything from that link, whether it's the hand wraps the links takes you to, or you buy something else after clicking that link, it is a donation to us. And it helps us build not only this channel, but Fighters Rep Promotions, the only kickboxing promotion in the state of California. We've got our upcoming show, Fighters Rep 9. It's going down at the AIM Sportsplex in Seal Beach on February 28th. It's a Friday night. So definitely be sure to get your tickets at fightersrep.com when they go on sale. But it looks like I've only got a little bit of action going on in the chat today. We've got Mihailo Mikel, he says, first, let's go. He says, do you believe the refereeing was a bit dodgy in favor of Wilder during their first fight? I did think that when Wilder was hurt, they took a really long time on the count. I do think Luis Ortiz could have potentially finished that fight had the referee not squandered that opportunity for Luis Ortiz. So yes, I would agree that it's dodgy. However, did I think that it was intentional? That I don't know. It really didn't seem to be intentional. Maybe it was. But that being said, if Deontay Wilder with all due respect to him, is going to complain about the referees not counting fast enough for Tyson Fury and not counting him out, then he's got to take a look at the tape with him and Luis Ortiz and address that too. I think it's only fair that he does that. But do I think, the referee was a bit dodgy, or the refereeing was a bit dodgy? I thought it was incorrect. I don't know if dodgy is the best word for it. I thought it was incorrect. Maybe you could say it was dodgy. But again, I think it goes to intent. Excuse me. And I don't think that the referee intended to give Wilder all that time to recover after Luis Ortiz had hurt him. But then again, it was a PBC fight. Deontay Wilder is a PBC fighter. He is the crown jewel of their promotion probably, and of the heavyweight division. And so maybe there was something that went down there. I don't know. What I can say is that Deontay Wilder, I have the utmost respect for him. He's down to fight this guy again who gave him a serious scare in their first fight. I think Deontay Wilder can probably beat any heavyweight out there, and he's shown the courage to go in there against this guy again. A very risky fight, even at this point, especially after the experience he had the first time. It's a bit of a risky fight, and seeing Luis Ortiz in the best shape of his career makes me think, wow, this is a really, really risky fight that Deontay Wilder signed up for. But that being said, I think he's already seen it. It's more of the same. I do wish he would fight some new blood. I would have loved to see him, against Dillian Whyte. But unfortunately, Dillian Whyte, I don't know, he might have some substance abuse issues or PED issue that went down. I would have liked to see him, though, against many other heavyweights in the heavyweight division. We've talked about that on the channel before. Nonetheless, it should be an exciting fight. I think it is the appetizer to the Joshua Ruiz fight, which I'm more excited about, if I'm being honest. But still something to whet our appetite until the Ruiz versus Joshua rematch happens. So there you have it, knuckleheads. That's all I've got for you today. That's my Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz 2 preview prediction. If you're watching this on the replay, man, be sure to click the subscribe button, like, comment, share, hit that bell notification icon, get your Fighters Rep gear below, and really appreciate you guys and your support. That's all I've got. Until next time, knuckleheads, keep it clean.